Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. I have with us today, she does a little bit of everything. She's an actress, author, executive producer, and she's a horror icon and producer, yes. And she's an indie horror icon. And by the way, she just came off winning her supporting actress role in Finding Nicole, which is based on a true story. I have with us Debra Lamb. Debra, welcome to the Horror Room.
Oh, thank you, Travis. That was a lovely introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Debra, tell us a little bit about Finding Nicole.
Well, I would love to. Okay, so I've been friends with producers Harley Wallen and Katie Wallen. They've produced several films, a dozen or more films. Well, more than a dozen films, easy. They have a long-standing career producing films and starring in them as well. So I've been wanting to work with Harley and Katie for quite some time. I've been friends with them for a handful of years. And then the opportunity came for me to audition for Finding Nicole, which is a true story based on the real life of Nicole Beverly, who has a book out there called Finding Nicole. She's also been on news shows, and I think, I'm not sure exactly which one it was, but a big television show about, true life crime. So I had the opportunity to audition for Finding Nicole back in 2022, and for the role of the mother of the lead character of Nicole. So they liked what I did, so I was cast in Finding Nicole, and we shot it back in August and September of 2022, and I got to work with producer Harley Wallen and Katie Wallen, who is the star of the film, playing Nicole. Well, and a lot of other really fine actors. Sean Whalen is in it. Richard Tyson, some big name actors, Shantae Dolan and Shamari Giles are also starring in this film. So it's a really, really great cast, really fantastic crew. I made really lifelong friends on that film. Like I said, I was already friends with Harley and Katie, but it was really wonderful to actually work with them. And it was a real honor to get to play the real life character of Susan, the mother of, Nicole Beverly. So this film has been lighting the film festival circuit on fire. I can't even keep track of how many wins, awards, and nominations that this film has garnered over the past handful of months. And Katie herself has won at least, I can't even keep track, 5 or 6 best actress awards so far. And so our film was put into the Sunny Side Up Film Festival, and we had 14 film nominations, including one for myself for Best Supporting Actress. And I was able to go there. This happened a couple weeks ago. I was able to go to the Sunny Side Up Film Festival with the director Harley Wallen and Jeff Berry, who's become a very dear friend of mine. He was the production manager on Finding Nicole, and he's worked with Harley and Katie many times. So he was able to go too, and it was very exciting watching Finding Nicole for the first time for me, getting to see it with an audience. And then we ended up winning 6 awards at that festival, one of which was for me for Best Supporting Actress. So I'm very grateful for that. Thank you very much. And, I really thank the directors of the film festival, Rock and Brenda Whitehead. They're marvelous people. They also have 2 other film festivals, one of which is called the Cowpokes Film Festival, and another one is the Wild Bunch Film Festival. And a little over a year ago, I actually won a Best Actress award at the Wild Bunch Film Festival for a Western I did, because that's a Western. The film that I was in is called Showdown in Yesteryear, and that, is a Western. So, we were in that festival, and I did win a Best Actress award for my role in that. And we also won at the Sunny Side Up Film Festival a year ago. We won a lot of awards for Showdown in Yesteryear, and again I won a Best Actress award at that festival. So it was really just really exciting to win a Best Actress award for the Western Showdown in Yesteryear a year ago, and then just a few weeks ago winning at the Sunny Side Up Film Festival for Finding Nicole for a Best Supporting Actress award. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied, but that was really exciting, and I'm very grateful to Rock and Brenda Whitehead for their just their support of the Western that I was in and Finding Nicole. And again, the Western Showdown in Yesteryear did win quite a few awards, was nominated for several times for a lot of different film festivals, but Finding Nicole is, it's ridiculous. I should say it's redonkulous how many awards we've won, how many nominations there are. I can't keep up. Harley's posting, we won here, we're official selection here like every day practically. It's like, wow. So anyway, that's all very exciting, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this story. It's a story about, the real life Nicole Beverly, but the character in the film is Nicole, different last name, but what this character goes through, and the just surviving such a horrific level of, really scary domestic violence that was put on her, and a hit was her ex-husband put a hit out on her while he was in prison, and you see all that playing out in the film. So this film is going to be released, I think, probably before the end of the year, but when it comes out, it's going to make a big impact on this subject. It's a very important subject, and this film is I think going to really do a lot to bring, even more attention to this topic.
Now, Deborah, you're working with a powerful cast in this movie. So as
Yes.
an actress, working with talent that, it's a core, excellent group. Does that elevate your performance?
Well, absolutely. And not only that, not only is it the people who are in it, the cast who is in it. Well, for one, I have a personal connection with Katie Wallen, who starred in the film, because she is a very dear friend of mine. And I already had a maternal feeling towards Katie. She literally could be my daughter. Age-wise, she's at the age that she could easily be my daughter, and she's such a precious person, and we had been wanting to work together for a while, so I'm just really fortunate to have been able to have this opportunity. But so I had that personal connection with her already. Then plus the subject matter itself, I'm married to a wonderful husband now. We've been together for 20 years. We'll be celebrating our 17th wedding anniversary in July. But I was married previously to somebody. It was a really bad situation. I was with that person for 9 years total and married to him for 6.5 years, but it was an extremely abusive relationship. And this person definitely was just, I don't want to get into too much detail, but it was bad. And so the subject matter of being in an abusive relationship is near and dear to my heart. I didn't have it as horrifically bad as many women out there. You know, it was a bad situation. In fact, you know, when you're in a situation like that, you forget all the really bad things that happen. And it was so long ago now, but I just reminded myself in my head that yes, he was going to kill me, and I had to run away. I was really afraid for my life. And, you know, I forget about that. I forget that that was part of my history, my personal history, that happened. And that happens in Finding Nicole, where she's afraid for her life. And it was a very serious situation where he was trying to get people to kill her. And so I was actually in the same situation. And I do tend to forget about that, how bad of a situation I was in. So the subject matter, I could very much relate to. The fear I could relate to. It turns out that Harley Wallen himself had experiences of abuse when he was in his life. So this film was cathartic for him. It was also cathartic for me. And I know for Nicole Beverly, who worked on the script with Harley, and the screenplay writer is Jeffrey D. Calhoun. And I got to meet him there on set, and we got to have discussions about the script, and that was really cool. But she worked with them closely on the script to bring her story to life. But yeah, I know your horror realm, and this isn't a horror film, but you know what? It kind of is, because the things that these victims go through. I don't want to say women, because it happens to men too. I mean, obviously not as much, but they're the majority are women, but these abusive relationships do happen to men as well. So, but this film is celebrating the survivors, and hopefully will help get the conversation going among the people who probably need help and they're afraid to speak out.
Your personal opinion, do you think when it comes to victims who are in abusive relationships, do you think it's the fear is what keeps them in those relationships, or do you think it's something else?
Absolutely. But it's not just the fear of the abuse. Whether the person is a victim of emotional abuse, because emotional abuse is a lot of times worse than physical abuse. And the reason I say that is I was in a situation where it was emotional abuse, but it was bad. It was really bad. And the only reason why it didn't spill over into physical abuse was because that person already had 2 felonies. And the only reason he did not strike me, and he came very close a couple of times, was because he knew he would go to prison with a 3rd strike in California. And so that is the only thing. But again, he was plotting to have me killed. And I know that for a fact. And I don't want to go into detail why I know, but I know. So you know, but the women, whether it's emotional abuse or actual physical abuse where you're getting beaten up, it's the fear. I was deathly afraid of this person. I had to sign things like 3 different life insurance policies out on me.
Wow.
For my death, the money that he would get if I was dead, not insurance policies for him if he died to help me survive. And so I was afraid not to sign it. I was really, really afraid of this person. In fact, when I had the divorce papers, I had to file for divorce. I had to pay for the divorce. I had to do all the work. And when he showed up at my work, because he needed to sign the divorce papers, he had a big brand new truck. And this was a big truck. And, he had just bought a new house. He was living a double life, and he took all my money. So I had a job, but he took all my money. I had no money in my bank account. I was able to leave him with telling the woman that I rented a room from this kind-hearted woman, and I told her I have $100 in my bank account, but I have a job because my husband takes all my money every week or every paycheck. He takes all my money. I have no money. But when I leave him and move out, I will be able to keep my money, and I'll be able to pay you however many paychecks it takes to pay you what I owe you. So she did. She let me do that. Thank God. That's how I was able to get out. But anyway, so I was there at work, and there were people all around. But I got to tell you, I was deathly afraid to get into that truck. I did not want to I had to get into the truck so he would sign the papers. But I was so afraid, and I hadn't seen him for quite a while. But that's how afraid I was. And then at this one point, we had just moved into this place in Northern California, and I deliberately did not unpack my things. I unpacked everything else, the household things, but my personal things I didn't pack. And then one day when he went to work, very early, as soon as he left, I started packing the car. And I was calling my mom, telling her he's going to kill me. He's going to kill me. I was so afraid. So as far as not being able to leave, yes, it's fear. And then also the fear of, because a lot of times these abusers, they put you in a position where you have no money. You have nowhere to go. They tear you away from your family. They tear you away from your friends. They keep you isolated. You have no one to turn to. You have nowhere to go. You literally have nowhere to go. And while I was married to that person, throughout the years, the couple of times that I did leave, I ended up coming back because I was going to homeless shelters. I literally had nowhere to go. And I was at one point in the system of, I was going to get Section 8, and I was going to get these benefits. And I decided to go back to him only because I had a plan of, I'll go back and I'll be with him until it gets really bad again, because there's always like the honeymoon period, and then it gets really bad again, or it gets actually worse. Every time it'll get worse and worse. And I said to myself, I'll get a job, and then when it gets really bad again, I'll have a job at least, and then I can leave. And so that's what happened. But yes, to answer your questions, it is fear. Even women who are in high positions, CEOs go through this. It doesn't matter the demographics or the what, if you make money or if you don't make money. It's fear. It's fear. And many of these women have kids. In the story of Finding Nicole, she has children. And so, yeah, there's a lot of fear involved, because these people are so unpredictable. I was married to a sociopath, and very unpredictable. And to the outside world, they're charming, funny. Most of the time, they're like good looking.
Yes.
And so they just get away with all this, and people have no idea what they're really like. They think, exactly. You're so lucky to be married to such a handsome, successful. My ex-husband was very successful with what he did, but he would always tell me how broke we were all the time, and he took my money too. And I knew he was living a double life. I knew, because then as soon as I leave him, and then eventually, soon after I filed for divorce, but as soon as I left him, next thing I know, he's bought himself a house. He bought himself an expensive new truck, so he was definitely living a double life. And so yeah, it's very difficult. It's so hard for the victims. They're usually in such a vulnerable place, and even if they do make money, emotionally they've been torn apart so much that they just they have zero self-confidence. I was a shell of a person with that person. I mean, little by little, the years being with them, I was suicidal for years, like seriously suicidal, so depressed for years. It took me so long after leaving that person to even feel like I was a little bit back to my own self. It took years to get back to feeling like I felt before I got with that person.
Yeah. And like you were saying, it's just not women. Like, I mean, men, I feel like do not, on a high percentage, have physical abuse, but the emotional abuse. Well, so I'm a victim.
A lot of them are physically abused.
Yes. But I'm talking about, like, I'm a victim of emotional abuse. I've been a victim of emotional abuse.
So you can relate.
And what the individual does is they pick away at you. They pick away at pieces of you.
Little pieces.
And your self-esteem. And your self-esteem to the point where, like you said, you're a shell of yourself. So when people from the outside say, well, why didn't you leave? You don't feel like you're worthy enough to leave.
Exactly. And I was told when I was, when I left him for the final time, the fourth and final time that I left him, I was 39 and I had a good job. And I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, it didn't pay that much, but it was a good job though. And, and he would tell me, I would say, can I just keep a little bit of my money and put it in a savings account and have a little bit of a savings? And he would say, why? So you can leave me? That's why. I know. And like I was plotting. I mean, yes, I did want to leave him, and then when I finally did tell him I'm leaving you, and I had a plan already, I had a place to move to, but as soon as I told him, I was leaving and I was moving out, he said, nobody's going to want you. You're 40. My whole year of being 39, he kept telling me, you're 40. Nobody's going to want you. You're washed up. You're used, whatever he said, used garbage or whatever the phrase is. And he told me that for a whole year, on and off. But, and then when I was leaving him, he's like, nobody's going to want you. Nobody's ever going to want you. But that's the message that he put in my head for years. So I understand exactly what the other person did to you.
Mm-hmm. It's
subtle. It's subtle. It starts out so subtle.
It's so subtle.
For years. And over the years, it gets a little bit worse, a little bit worse, a little bit worse, until you're like, okay, I'm leaving. I can't take this anymore. Oh, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh no, I'm so sorry. I'll never do that to you again. Oh, I'll change. And then you're like, and then you just kind of remember the good moments, or what you perceived as good moments. And then you kind of like, oh, okay, he's being really sweet now. And then you kind of just relax a little bit. As soon as you relax, that's when it starts again.
Yep, 100%.
When you're ready to leave, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I love you, I'm sorry. And you'll see it too in the film Finding Nicole, because that's the pattern. But as I'm sure you know, once you've had a certain amount of abuse from that person, and then you do go back, it'll be all honeymoonish just for the beginning, and then little by little it gets back a little bit worse and worse and worse. But then the abuse is always worse. They go a step farther until you're ready to leave again. But then it always ends up getting worse and worse. If you keep going back, it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse.
Never ever go back. Never go back. But I've always said, like, if you made up in your mind, hey, you decided to leave someone, leave. Like, don't look back, look forward. That's the best advice I can give anybody when it comes to relationships.
But it's easier said than done, because in my case back
especially
then,
if you have kids, especially if you have kids involved,
especially if you have kids, and even if you don't have kids, I had nowhere to go. And I tried to leave him a few times, but with nowhere to go. And that was so difficult, and then you end up going back, because then you kind of like forget about how bad it would get. And you'd kind of be like, and then you start thinking, it's like, maybe it's me, you blame yourself a lot. You take on the responsibility. And then plus there's all the, excuses for the other person, making excuses. Well, they're stressed. Well, when they get this promotion, they'll be happier. Well, when, and that person would always say, because he had like big money way before I came along. At one point, he was wealthy with his first wife. I was his third wife. And, he would be like, well, when I get a boat again, then you'll see how happy I am and things will be different. It was always material objects. So he was trying to get back to the status he had with his first wife. And that was never going to happen. He was really rich, a mansion, Mercedes, boats, all the 9 yards. And, he was just not going to get back to that. But, being a sociopath, that wouldn't have made him happy either. He always cheated on all his wives, including me, and then people ask me, do you ever wonder what happened to him? I said, well, there's a couple of things. He's either on his 5th wife or 6th by now, or he's in prison because he had a criminal mind. And so, I mean, he already had 2 felonies against him. And I got him out of jail the first time with my hard work. And too bad I didn't just let him stay in there and just get away.
Why do you think attractive people are usually narcissists?
Mm-hmm.
You think it? So why do you think attractive people are usually narcissists? Do you think it's because they've always been giving things, or people have complimented them and like they just grow a big head over time, or do you think is it something naturally in them?
Well, I think it is true that a lot of attractive people are narcissists. I mean, a lot of them. I've met, the film industry. In the film industry, you come across just a ton of them. I would say more than half the people that I've come across. Well, I don't know. There's so many good people too. There's really, really good people in the film industry who I personally know. But I kind of, it seems to me that with all the narcissists I've come across, I don't know, is it 50-50? I don't know what the percentages are.
I think it's more than 50. Yeah.
But as far as attractive people, yeah, I think a lot of attractive people are very narcissist. I think a lot of it does have to do with people just giving them, what do you call it, preferential treatment. Although I do know that my ex-husband came from a very, very abusive childhood. Mm-hmm. And then somewhere along the line, working hard, he became, really made a success out of himself. But a lot of that success that he got was because he's a narcissist. And, a lot of these CEOs, directors of companies and politicians and a lot of people in power, I would say definitely more than half. 100%. I don't know if I would say 100%, but
no.
The percentile.
The
majority of extremely successful people are narcissists.
100%.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to be a narcissist in some way to be highly successful.
it helps. It helps. I mean, I've thought, there have been periods in my career where I'm just like, I'm not cut out for this business. I think to myself, I have to get tougher. I have to, I've been in the business for a long time, like, about 40 years now.
Yeah,
so,
and we're going to talk about that too.
Huh?
And we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah, but, so you've gone through it all many times. You've seen every type there is. You've worked with tons of different types of directors. You've worked with a lot of difficult people. You've had a lot of rejection, a lot. And, that's part of the business. But, there's been periods of time where I think, I just need to get out of this business. This business is for the birds. Why am I doing this to myself? Why am I putting myself through this? And, so yeah, and then I think, well, I just got to get tougher. I gotta like just not care and, this stuff, but you can't just go against your own, personality. I'm a nice person. I genuinely love people. I support people. I love to support my fellow filmmakers and actors and people like you. You're in the entertainment industry. So, I like to, I'm an uplifting, positive person. So I'm not going to ever be like, okay, I'm going to turn into some kind of hard-nosed bitch. It's not my nature. So it's just not going to happen. But yeah, I've thought to myself, wouldn't it be so much easier if I just didn't care, if I was cold, if I just was, a narcissist? It would be easier. These narcissists, they have an advantage.
They rule corporate America. I mean,
they do.
A majority of successful people you meet in this world are they're not nice people. They're not. I mean, let's face it, they're not.
And they can look at you with a smile on their face, and they know how to be friendly, and they know how to come across like, oh, I'm a good person. But then it's like you find out the real motives behind people.
It's impossible to be successful in this country right now without stepping on people to get you. I mean, you look at every billionaire, you look at somebody like Jay-Z, he has stepped on a lot of people, friends, to be where he's at. Beyonce has stepped on a lot of people to be where she's at.
And I would say even much worse than stepping on people.
Yes.
It goes beyond. I mean, now we're getting into, Illuminati area, the Illuminati area of the evildoers who are running the world,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
But you're right. You're right.
Yeah, and I mean, it's fortunately that's that way. Now, Debra, listen, you have been in, you were saying 40 years. You've been in a lot of iconic movies. I mean, one of my favorites, RoboCop. How did you get into acting?
Okay, well, growing up when I was 7, I begged my mother to let me take ballet classes. So I took ballet from the age of 7 to 14 when we lived in Portland, Oregon. And then my mother moved us to LA when I was about 14. And I wasn't taking ballet anymore, but I just took dance. I was already taking drama classes in elementary. And then in high school, I entered high school. Well, I was a freshman in Portland, Oregon. So my sophomore year was actually, we were really, really poor, but we found a little place, a guest house behind a house in Beverly Hills. So I actually went to Beverly Hills High School my sophomore year of high school, which was a trip because I was like one of the poorest kids in the whole school. I mean, I was poor. Yeah. And all these young 16-year-olds driving sports cars. It was crazy. And there was a lot of Hollywood kids in there. Kids. I was going to school with kids. I was going to school with the girl on What's Happening. I was going to school with I think Moon Unit Zappa went to that school, and when I was there, and other kids that were like in big shows at the time. So and then I took dance and drama there. And then we moved to Santa Monica. So my junior and senior year, I was at Santa Monica. I took dance and drama there. And plus I was taking musical instruments too. And then so when I got out of high school, I decided I wanted to pursue an acting career. So it took me a couple years to really get myself together to like really be able to pursue acting. But I enrolled in the Van Mar Academy of Motion Picture and Television Arts, something like that. It was a big famous acting school at the time. It's gone now because the creator of it passed away many years ago. Anyway, but a lot of big stars went to that acting school, and so I went there, and I just little by little, because I was doing modeling, plus I was a dancer, so I was doing I did some music videos. I just got myself into I could fire eat. I was a fire eater way back.
That.
So I was in a couple music videos where I was fire eating in the music video. Plus I was in some films very, very early on where I was dancing and fire eating in the films. My very first film was Strip to Kill, starring Kay Lenz and Norman Fell and some other people. And I was background, basically. They needed somebody to dance in the amateur, quote unquote, amateur dance contest that Kay Lenz is gets in this dancing contest so she can work at this strip club to solve these murders. So that was my first acting job on a feature film. I had done some other little things, but that was my first actual feature film. And then I did some other feature films where I was dancing in them and fire eating them. And then I was, and then I graduated up to speaking roles. I was auditioning a lot. And then I started, getting speaking roles on feature films. And then little by little, then I was starring in a film called Evil Spirits that starred Karen Black and a lot of, well-known people, character actors, one of which was Virginia Mayo, who was a huge star in the 40s. If anybody wants to look up Virginia Mayo, she was huge. She was an elderly woman in Evil Spirits, but then Karen Black, everybody loves Karen Black. She starred in it. Michael Berryman, you've got to know who Michael Berryman is, right?
Berryman, yeah.
He was in it.
Eyes.
Huh? Yes. And he's a sweetheart too. But so I was in that. But you know what? I was mute, so I didn't speak in it.
Oh.
And then also, I can't do a spoiler alert, but there's a thing at the end. But anyway, and then I was in a bunch of independent. At the time, these films were considered low budget, but these were all on film back in the day when films were on film. And film is very expensive, so even a low budget film back then would actually be a pretty big budget for filmmakers today. The indie filmmakers today, if they had the budget that those films had, they would think that they're like making a pretty big budget film. So, but I did a lot of those films. I worked with Fred Olen Ray 3 times. I love Fred Olen Ray. He's a good friend of mine. I worked on, Gary Graver was Evil Spirits, but Fred Olen Ray, I was in Beverly Hills Vamp with Eddie Deason, who I love, and Warlords with David Carradine. I had a small little part. That was the first time I worked with Fred, was on Warlords with David Carradine and Sig Haig. And then on Beverly Hills Vamp, that had Eddie Deason and a bunch of people. Oh, Michelle Bauer and Julian Kessner, or is it Kessler? Sorry, I think it's Kessner. Anyway, but Michelle Bauer was in that, and all these great people. And then I did Mob Boss, another Fred Olen Ray movie with Eddie Deason. And then I just, did a bunch of those kind of films. And then I was working a lot. I started out a little like early mid 80s. I was working a lot mid 80s to mid 90s. And then and I was in a ton of films. And then that was when things started going downhill for me because I was with that person. And I really was unable to have a career at that time because he just sabotaged everything I did and clearly did not want me to do anything. Plus we were moving around all over the place in different states and so it was just impossible. So then when I left him, this one time when I left him and I ran away back to LA and I was there for a few months, I was homeless and it was a really hard experience. But then I ended up going back with the plan, like I'll get a job and then I'll be able to leave, which did end up working. I left like 3 years later, but then, yeah, there was no acting career at all during that time. And then soon after, there was Eric, my husband now. He worked at a company that I would call that company all the time because I was a buyer in the maintenance department. I would call to get parts and repair things and supplies from all these other companies. So he was at one of the companies. And then I ended up actually starting to work for that same company, which is Grainger. A lot of people know what Grainger is. So I was with Grainger for 10 and a half years. Oh, do you know Grainger?
I do know Grainger. Yes.
Okay, Grainger. So I worked for Grainger for 10 and a half years, but and then in the like 2010 or 2011, just by accident, I had people being interested in me for acting. And then once I got on Facebook, which is I think 2011, I got on Facebook. That's when I had a full-time job meanwhile, and I had no idea that I could ever get my acting career back. I just didn't think that was even possible. I got on Facebook and people were like, oh my God, is this the Debra Lamb? I got so many friend requests because I started friending my friends, that I used to work with, like Brink Stevens and personal friends that aren't in acting too, but Brink Stevens and a bunch of other people that I had acted with and, Fredel and Ray and a bunch of people. And, then I got an avalanche of friend requests. Then I started getting people sending me scripts wanting me to be in their films. And the first few projects I was attached to, those never materialized. But then little by little, I actually started working again. It was crazy. And then I eventually left Grainger. So I was working a lot for years while I was still working at Grainger. And then I went down to part-time, but I was becoming so busy that just being part-time wasn't really helping me. So then I finally just quit. I left. And in 2016, I left Grainger altogether. And then I've just been, building my career back up through these years. And now over the past few years, I've gotten more and more selective about what I'm doing. And so now I work less because I'm turning down a lot of things, but I'm only doing the projects that I feel are going to help my career, or I feel that these are people I really, really want to work with, or it's a role that I really want to do. So I'm only selecting things that I feel that I really want to do. So meanwhile, like last year, I didn't work at all last year. I worked, and in 2020, I worked on 6 different film projects. I was so busy in 2020. In 2021, I worked on a few things. And then in 2022, the only film I worked on was Finding Nicole. And last year, I literally didn't do anything at all. I keep extremely busy because I have all these things going on behind the scenes, but I didn't actually work on a film. But this year, well, we're kind of running out of time, but we were going to talk about Shadows of the Night.
Well, I'm going to jump in. I'm going to actually jump into that.
And Vampire Penny.
Yes. So you transition from actress into getting behind the camera as, you're the executive producer of Shadows of the Night. And,
well, I'm a producer. Executive producer and producer are two different things. back about a little more than 10 years ago, I was I was a co-executive producer on a film called Disciples. And then on A Blood Story with the same filmmaker, his name's Joe Hollow. On A Blood Story, on that film, I was a producer, but I was also an executive producer. So on Shadows of the Night, I am not an executive producer. On Shadows of the Night, I am a producer. But on Vampire Penance, I'm actually a producer and an executive producer. So there's little differences between the two roles, but mainly the producer is somebody who's actually getting the film made.
Mm-hmm.
You know, more than, I mean, yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm about to say, and I had Todd and Ty on.
Yes, I know. I missed that one
recently. Yeah, and so tell us about, you know, how did you become a part of Shadows of the Night?
Well, I worked with Todd on You Like to Draw. We shot that. I think we shot that in. Was that one of the films shot in 2020? I think it was 2020 that we actually shot it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, so it came out. You know, it's out. It's been out. But I worked. That was a drama. That was a family drama about a young woman with a traumatic brain injury, and I play her mother. And you know, I'm getting this other caretaker for her, and the caretaker I give, you know, I'm just desperate to find somebody, but she's, you know, not qualified at all. But she turns out being really very good for the character who with the traumatic brain injury. So that was Todd's film. So I was a part of that, and I also got a writing credit. Todd gave me a writing credit on that because I helped with some of the story. But so I already worked with Todd, and Todd's been a really good friend of mine for several years. So I saw that he was doing Shadows of the Night as a short, and he was posting things on Facebook, and I thought, oh, this looks really good. And so I was telling Todd, you know, he was just working with local actors. So I was telling Todd, hey, this looks really good. And he did a little teaser trailer, and I was like, oh, wow, this trailer looks good. And then I saw on Facebook that he was bumping it up to a feature film. And I said, oh, good. Because You Like to Draw started out as a short, and I told him, you have to make this a feature film. Don't waste such a good story on a short. This is too good of a story. You have to make it a feature film. So he did, and it turned out great. It's a very good film. And then, so with Shadows of the Night, when I saw that he announced that he was making it a feature film, I was telling him, you know, I was messaging him saying, I'm so glad you're making it a feature film. Good move, because this looks really good. So then not too long after that, he contacted me. We had a call, and he wanted me to be in the film. And so he told me the whole story and everything, and I really liked it a lot. I was like, oh, I love this. Yes, I do want to be a part of this. And he said, I know you're being very selective about what your films you're doing, and I'm not doing a lot of horror. I'm still doing some horror, but you know, I'm, like I said, I'm being selective. So he said, I know you're not doing a lot of horror, but you know, and he was telling me the whole story, and I was like, oh yes, but this is really good. And it's more of a paranormal thriller. It's not like, you know, a lot of these horror films that you see. Yeah. So I really liked it a lot. So I came on the project, and very soon after I came on as a producer because of things that I felt I could bring to the project as a producer. So yeah, so I'm a producer with Todd Braley and Ty Guberman, and we've all been working very hard behind the scenes on this, as well as on social media, of course. And then I'm also working with my friend John Rain on Vampire Penance, and I've been a part of that project for 3.5 years, and I'm a producer on that as well. And I'm also an executive producer on that film as well. So, and both films, you know, Todd, we've been running an Indiegogo campaign. So, you know, we've been promoting that a lot, and we've been making lots of posts about contributing to our campaign. And John Rain's Vampire Penance also had an Indiegogo campaign going, but that's closing today. So today's the end of that Indiegogo campaign. And, you know, so we're we're working hard behind the scenes on, well, I'm working hard behind the scenes on both films, but I have other films too. I'm actually a producer on other films as well. So, which I'm behind the scenes, doing things.
Now, do you think by being an actress for so long helped you on the other side of the camera by being a producer?
Well, I've always been interested in what everybody does. Whenever I get on a set, and I've been like this pretty much my whole career. Maybe not first starting out, but definitely once, definitely there's been a lot of projects where I lend my skills to help with the, filmmakers with just things, little things and whatever they need. And there's been a lot of films that I've helped out, without getting a producer credit or anything, just helping, just to help, because I'm a helpful person. I want to help my friends, and I want to, any project that I'm in, if there's something I can do. I mean, obviously that opportunity isn't there, on every film. A lot of films, I'm just an actor and that's it. I just come in, I do my job, and I go away. And then, but there's been a lot of opportunities for me to help people in different ways. I've helped filmmakers with casting, not getting any credit for it. Just people will ask me my opinions about things, because I have been around a long time and I know a lot of people. I mean, I know a lot of people. So I'm really good at, like, if somebody were to come to me, who do you think for this part? Do you think this person, that person? What do you think? What do you think? So, it's just a natural progression for me. Plus, like I said, I'm very curious about who does what on films, anywhere from the first AD to the cameraman to the DP to script supervisor and I've had all those jobs. Well, not script supervisor, I have to say, but back on A Blood Story especially, I had like a million jobs. I mean, I was doing craft service. I was in it, but I was doing craft service. I was a personal assistant to Robert, what's his name? Oh, he's so famous too. Robert Zadari. No, is that right? Anyway, he was in Maniac Cop. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
What's his last name? It's slipping my mind. Anyway, he was in A Blood Story. I'm so sorry, I can't think of his name right now. But everybody will know who I'm talking about. Maniac Cop. And
I love Maniac.
Yeah, so I was like his personal assistant with anything he needed. I was doing everything. I was doing transportation, running people back and forth from the airport. I was running people back and forth to our lodging, to the set, getting anything anybody needed, cooking. I was, this one day I was shooting my scenes. I was in costume. I had to take my costume off, cook the meal, and then throw my costume back on for my wardrobe. I was also wardrobe supervisor. Ahead of shooting, I spent a lot of time in a lot of stores looking for certain wardrobe for certain people. And we had Camden Toy on that one too, who unfortunately just passed away last year. He was a dear friend of mine. But yeah, I mean, I'm very, very hands-on, So, when Todd asked me to come on board, and I'm talking to him about the production, and then he just brings me on board as a producer, and the same thing with other projects. It's just easy for me to flip back and forth. I like it when I can get involved with the actual production instead of like just being an actor. I don't mind just coming on as an actor. I mean, that's fine. But it just happens that I'm working with people who I know well, who are friends of mine, and then I just end up being helpful, and then one thing leads to another, and I'm helping out, and then I end up being a producer. Like on Finding Nicole, I was actually staying with Jeff Berry, who is the production manager, so I was staying with him at his house through the couple of weeks that I was there. So I'd go with him to set early, because he has to be there early, and then I would be one of the last ones to leave. And I was helping out with the crew. You know, I was there cleaning up. We were all cleaning up. You know, that's the way it is on indie film. You know, you all pitch in. So, you know, it's like one day we were doing dress setting for one of the scenes, and we were putting up Halloween decorations for one of the scenes, and we were all chipping in and doing it. So that was fun. You know, I just enjoy it. I feel like, oh, I don't want to just sit here as an actor. I want to do something, because otherwise I'm just sitting here waiting for me to do my acting thing. But I feel like, you know, let me help, you know, anything it is. And so I'm just naturally like that.
So I have a question, and it's on topic, but a little bit off topic. Is it PC now to not call a woman an actress? Because I've noticed, I've interviewed several women, and they refer to themselves as an actor, and I'm saying actress. Is that PC now? That are women actors now?
Okay, so the word actor has always meant just actor. So men, women. Somewhere along the line, I don't know when it happened, but it wasn't ancient, because there was actors in Greece, and there were actors way, 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 way back. You know, there's always been actors, but it was actor. So the word actress didn't come into our vocabulary. I'm not sure when it did, but I think maybe it was, you know, more in modern times. I don't know if it was like maybe sometime during the 1800s, I think. So the word actress is relatively new as a word. So I call myself an actor. I have all sorts of people that say, sometimes they'll say actor for women, and sometimes they say actress. I'm not offended if somebody says actress. It doesn't offend me. But I personally like to call myself actor, and I see a lot of interviews with, you know, bigger stars, with A-lister stars, female actors. So you could call somebody a female actor, or you could say actress. But I see a lot of A-list female actors referring to themselves as actors. And I think the reason why us ladies who are actors like the word actor, because the word actress, it's almost like, you know, there's a lot of, for one, male actors get the lion's share of the roles. There's so many films that are all men. And there's a ton of films that I love that are all men. There is not even one single woman. And there's a ton of films that, you know, it's very well known that in film history, you'll have a whole cast of men and maybe one woman, you know, or two women, or maybe a couple women and some old lady, you know. So that's just the history of film. So I think the popularity of women calling themselves actors, which I also like to do, is because I think we just want to, you know, get the respect, the same level. We want a level playing field. So men are actors, and then we like to be actors too, to just level the playing field. But I mean, it's not wrong to say actress. My friend John Rain, we've had this conversation, because, you know, I'll refer to myself. Sometimes I refer to myself as an actress. It depends on the sentence. It depends on the connotation of what I'm saying. But most of the time, I refer to myself as an actor. And, you know, he will say actress, and there's, like I said, there's nothing wrong with it. But actor is actually correct, because that refers to men and women, where actress is obviously just women. And so, you know, you get the awards. In the awards, you know, you'll get best actress, but a lot of awards will be best female actor. So
let's see. But yeah. I've been told, like, the word female is derogatory to a lot of women too. They don't like, especially men, to say the word female. So, like, I I've 100% heard that from like feminist women that they do not like for a man to say the word female. But I've noticed
that's a new one on me.
Yeah, but
because there's only two things. There's male and female. So you know.
I mean it's literally on, but they say I'm a woman, not a female. I'm like, okay, I don't know.
Okay, that one, you know? That's beyond me. I'm not.
But
I can't relate to that.
I've noticed recently in the last couple of months that women actors are referring to themselves as actors.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been happening like the last 3 months, because before then I've noticed some women, I would say majority of women were saying actress, but like something happened like in the last 3 months there's been this change where now it's actor.
Well, I've been referring to myself as both actress and actor for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of times I will say actress, but more than not, you know, I'll say actor. But I think it's just gaining more popularity where more female or women actors are saying actor.
Don't get yourself in trouble, Debra.
See, this thing with women don't want to be called female. That one I don't understand, because well, we're female. What else? You know, I mean, there's men and women. There's male and female. So I don't know.
But they're saying so this is what I've heard from numerous women. I've asked them what that. They're saying that female has something to do with a species or something like an animal.
Well, we are animals.
I know we are, but listen, I'm not supposed to say that. But listen, but a woman is what. Listen, I don't fucking know. Listen, I'm being dead serious. I don't.
Okay, I get what you're coming. Yeah. I get what they're saying. I understand. They're saying male and female is more toward animals and men and women, because you don't call animals men or women. You just call animals male or female. So I get that, but see, now to me that's just silly. I get where they're coming from, but that's nah. I'm
zipping my lips, but
yeah. But, well, there's a lot of things going on now that I'm sure I've said things that certain people would be like, well, that's not right. But whatever, you know, I'm old. Okay, I'm 60. Okay, well, I lived in a world before a lot of these things that are going on. This is all like, you know, please. I've told this.
I understand. I understand older people back in the day saying crazy shit when I was like in my 20s, like, oh, well, that sounds like. But now I'm 41, and I'm like, it's hard for my brain for something I've been doing or saying for so long to flip that switch. I'm going to slip and say female or something, like, you know, it's
whatever. You know, I'm like, whatever. And then the actress thing, it's like, it's not that big of a deal. You know, I mean, I like calling myself as an actor, and I appreciate it when guys refer to me as an actor, you know, but it's not that big of a deal. I mean, actor, actress, but actor is correct. I mean, it's not that actor is also correct, but actor, the word actor is an old word. I mean, we're talking hundreds of centuries or whatever, you know, I'm probably saying it wrong, but I don't know however many hundreds of centuries, but, you know, long time. Actress is a newer word from, like, I think sometime in the 1800s, they started calling female actors actresses, you know, but whatever. Come on.
It's not a big deal. I don't.
It's not that big of a deal.
I didn't think it was that big deal, but I've said it recently, and I was like,
I've
called women actresses on our show, and I see the weird look, and then
they didn't like it
as actor, but I just recently started putting two to two together when you refer to yourself as an actor, and I was like, wait a minute, am I saying something wrong, or is there something changed? You know,
it's not. Actress is not wrong, but actor is also correct. So I think a lot of us ladies like the phrase actor, you know. I think it's just, like I said, I think it's just kind of a word that we feel levels the playing field for men and women, like equally, instead of actor, actress. But, you know, I mean, obviously, like on an award show, you've got the actor awards and the actresses award. Oh, that thing where they did, what award show was that? Where they combined the men and women's award? Was that wasn't the SAG Awards. What award show was that? That was crazy. There was an award show that I watched earlier this year. I don't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was the SAG Awards or some other awards. They combined the male actor and the female actor awards to one award, and of course a guy won. And I can't remember which award show it was. I was flabbergasted. I don't know if it was SAG. It might have been one of the others, because I watched a bunch of them.
Because that's not fair.
That is not fair. You know why it's not fair? It's because women give great performances, but there are more opportunities for men for roles because there are more male roles.
But this is why I say, listen, I'm making some shit for this one too, but that's why I say
we're both going to get shit.
In society, I know women are pressing for equality where men and women are the same and we combine them into one. But if you do that, women, you're not going to win. That's not going to work out for you well. That is not going to fucking 100% equality is not going to work out for women at all.
Well, you know what? That's a sorry state of affairs. I'm on the same page as you, my friend. That is not going to work out well. You're right. And there is no way. Men and women are different.
100%.
Men and women are different. We're equally as good. You know, I mean, some people will argue that women are better than men, but no. I jest. But men and women are equally valuable. I know there's this thing where, and I don't want to get into a political discussion, but I know there's this thing where women are better and men are not better. You know, like men have ruled the world for so long, and now let's let the women rule. It is my opinion that men and women are put on this planet for a reason. There's a reason why there's men and women, because we both bring something to the table. Men have
different too.
Yeah, you know, we can, and I could be the CEO of a company just as well as you could be the CEO of a company. Mm-hmm. But to say that we're going to be the exact same person running the company, no. You know, and thank God there's differences. You know, God bless us all for the differences that we have. Women have all sorts of differences. Men have all sorts of differences. But we're here to complement each other, not to be like competing. We're not. Yeah. We're both men and women valuable, and God put everybody on this planet for a reason.
Because it's never going to be a fair competition if
you're right. No, you are correct.
Women,
you are correct.
Ladies,
not
you
that
lose
women can't do just as good of a job,
but it's just the way it's set up.
Yes, yeah. No, you're right.
You would never win. You would never win. Never.
No, you're right. You're right. To try to blend men and women as though they're the same, that's just crazy.
It's crazy because at that point. Let's just one. I'm gonna give one example. If that's the same, there should not be an NBA or a WNBA. The women should be good enough to play with the men.
Let's put the best female basketball player up against Shaq, and let's see what happens.
It's not going to be a fair match. Let's put the best woman boxer against Mike Tyson and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. No. But let's move on to another subject. How about
let's go over to your author. Well, let's go over to you also an author.
Author, yeah.
Yeah, so let's jump to the next. So you're not only a producer, you're not only an actress, but you're also an author. And you are. I had Marjorie DeHay on my show.
Oh yes,
that's her last name, right? But I had her on my show recently, and she was talking about the new anthology series, part 3. Yes. Part 3.
Yes.
Of having a brain freeze. So I'm Screams in the Night.
A Scream in the Night.
Yeah. A Scream in the Night.
You were very close.
Yes. And I understand that you have a story in this as well as the first two as well.
Yes, that's correct. I can't remember which story I had in the first two, but because I have a plethora of short stories out there in all sorts of anthology books. But this last one, I do remember my story in this one. So in A Scream in the Night 3, which was released not that long ago, I don't know, a handful of months ago, a few months ago, I think it was either at the very beginning of the year or it was like around the holidays. I want to say the beginning of the year, but it wasn't that long ago. Anyway, and I must mention the publisher is Black Bed Sheets, Black, whatever it's called, Black Bed Sheets or something like that. Publishing, Nicholas Grabowski. But Raina Young is the editor, and she's the creator of the book. And then, she gathered, I've been friends with Raina for years and years and years. And she's put these books together. So in this one, in the third one, there's a handful of, it's always all female authors, all female horror authors. And I've got a story, what is my story called? It's called, I know what it's called. It's called The House of Larson. So it's kind of a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but with a woman. So kind of story, but it's a little different, but it's cool. And so we're on the third one, which is really cool. And Raina Young, she has written, I don't know how many books she's written. She's written so many books, and she does coloring books and maybe not coloring books, but she does comic books for kids. So she does, these books are for adults, and then she does all these horror themed books, fun books for kids. She's amazing.
Love it.
But I also write for a publishing group called, the letters are WPAD Publishing, which stands for Writers, Deviants, and Poets. I forgot the last word for a second. Writers, Deviants, and Poets. The editor and creator of this is Mandy White, and we've got a ton of writers who have been writing for this anthology series for years and years and years. My dear friend Michael Haberfellner, he's a writer who I've worked with on films such as There's No Such Thing as Zombies that came out at the end of last year. And anyway, he got me in on this group, but I've been writing for them for their anthology books for years and years. I think this one that's going to be coming out, I'm not sure when, either sometime this year or early next year. But I think this is my 10th book that I've had a story in with them. So quite some time. But yeah, I really enjoy writing. Oh, I must mention a special shout out before we wrap this up. A special shout out to my very, very dear friend, Dennis Daniel, who's a multi-talented person, ultra talented. He was a radio personality at one time. He works for an advertising company. He directs commercials and other things. And he does voiceovers. He does all these voices, tons of character voices. And he's an amazing writer. Well, I think about a year ago, or maybe a little longer, he wrote a massive book because he's a cinephile and he loves horror. And he wrote a massive book called The Horror, A Fanatic's Obsession with the Cinema Macabre. I think that's the name. So he invited me to write, that's the name. So he invited me to write an article for his book. And I wrote a lengthy article about the film Dr. Sleep. You know that one, Dr. Sleep? Mm-hmm. Well, I love Dr. Sleep. So I wrote a big article about that, which was published in his book. Then he started a magazine called Cinema Macabre magazine, but he's only done one issue, but I wrote an article for that called Imaginary Children, and I was basically writing about two films. one of which was the Jodie Foster film Flight, and the other film was called Whatever Happened to Bunny Lane, which is an older black and white film. So, and the correlation between those two films. Oh no, it's Whatever Happened to Bunny Lake, not Lane. Anyway, so he's nominated for a Rondo Award, and what that is, it's basically the Oscars of horror. So I have it. Yeah, he's nominated. So of course I voted for him. Everybody go, you can look it up on Google, just type in the Rondo Awards. Type in Rondo Awards and it'll come up, and then you can click on that. Oh, you'll put it in. You'll put it in.
It'll be right in the description. I'll have the link in the description.
Great. Well, so you can vote for a ton of people in a ton of different categories, but vote for Dennis Daniel in the nonfiction category because he's amazing. And it's really cool because my article is in the book that's nominated for a Rondo Award. So if he wins the Rondo Award, I win too. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Listen, so everyone down in the description, there's going to be the link to the Rondo Awards. Please give them a shout out. Also, there's going to be a link to the Indiegogo also too for Shadows of the Night.
Shadows of the Night.
Support. Yep, that's out there. And Deborah, where can anyone find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook. I just have a personal page. I do have a fan page, but I haven't kept up with my fan page in actually probably a couple years. So, but I have a personal Facebook page. I'm on Instagram, and actually I like Instagram better. It's just easier, but I still have so many friends on Facebook. I'm on Facebook a lot, and so you can find me on Facebook, but if you look for me up on Instagram, I'm at the Debra Lamb. So I'm the Debra Lamb. And, but yeah, I'm easy to find. I'm not on Twitter or X. I used to be, but I never used it. So I just got off of there. So. Oh, and please go look me up on IMDb. Look me up on IMDb. Look up my films.
I like how you do it nice and slow because I have to do the same way because I always, if I say it fast, that's what IMDb. I'm like, did I say that right? I do it nice and slow because you have to do that.
Well, it's
IMDb.
Well, it stands for International I, Movie, M, Data, D, Base, B. So IMDb.
I always switch to D's and B's.
Put a link.
Yes.
In
the description. Yep.
Travis he'll put a link. Okay.
All right. Well, listen,
that was fun.
We learned a lot. We learned a lot in this interview, and
you know what? This was an amazing interview, Travis. This was we hit so many really cool topics that you don't normally touch on.
Yes.
And I shared a lot of things in this interview I don't normally share.
And Deborah, this is why the Horror Room is such a great place for interviews, and because it's not like any other interview.
Well, I have to tell you, Travis, I'm impressed with you, and I really like your T-shirt.
Yes. By the way, our shop will be up soon, so if you feel like
okay, it's not up yet. It's not up yet.
Not up yet. It's not up yet. It will be. Right. So mugs, hats, all kinds of shit. So feel free to.
What are you getting? What are you gonna have?
So right now, I'm starting off with mugs. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, and hats. And then over time, hoodies.
Do hoodies.
Yep, it's gonna be the hoodies. So over time, I'll add more to it. I'm sorry, 4 items. Do little hats. Do like the beanie hats. I'm doing the little
beanie hats. Do beanie hats.
Yeah, the beanie hats. Yep.
Yeah, do that.
Beanie hats, hoodies, T-shirts, and mugs.
And then boxers.
And then add on.
Do boxers.
Boxers? Who's gonna? Yeah, and then I'm gonna do thongs too. So
yeah, do thongs. Well, the horror. I don't know how the horror room's gonna fit on.
I don't know how it's gonna fit on. I know unless it goes up and down.
Socks.
Socks
Well,
and
listen,
everything. Yes,
Travis, I know
Deborah.
we went over way more than
Oh,
what, but you know what?
it
We
doesn't
spent
matter.
more time on this, but you know what? It was so good.
Deborah, it doesn't matter. This was an amazing fucking interview, and I like
Thank
to
you.
go with the flow of the interview, and this went
Me too.
absolutely was great, and it was a pleasure having you on.
Thank you. And I loved chatting with you. So I want to come back and do it again.
Listen, you're more than welcome to come back anytime for any project you have in the future.
Thank you. Thank you. I will.
All right. I appreciate it. I can't wait. All right, everyone. Well, I'm Travis Bruce. She's Debra Lamb. Thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'll see you next time. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.